negotiating. They'd like to do something, and we'll see if something is going to be done. They had a chance to do something a while ago, and it didn't work out, and we did Midnight Hammer. I don't think they want that happening again, but they would like to negotiate. We are negotiating with them right now. Yes.
So, and those negotiations are going to happen on Friday. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner among that party for the United States. Here's what's happening in the last 24, 48 hours or so. You got Iran here in the middle of the map, okay? I want to focus down here in the Persian Gulf and also here in the Arabian Sea, because just yesterday, you had two incidents that involved the U.S. naval forces in the region, okay? One was an Iranian drone that was shot down. The USS Abraham Lincoln is about 500 miles off the shore of Iran. So the Lincoln thought that this drone was impeding on their activity. That was shot from the sky. Then you had a U.S. flagged vessel that outran Iranian gunboats, incident number 2, that was tucked up right here at the bottom of the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. What's happening in the area? Okay, so this is about the area where the drone was shot down. This is the USS Abraham Lincoln. Clearly, you can see all over this map, the naval assets on behalf of the United States Navy are significant right now in the Gulf, especially with the Lincoln just arriving there a few days ago. This is a choke point, right? It's one of the most important choke points in the world when it comes to transporting oil. All right, Strait of Hormuz, okay? You got 21 miles wide at its most narrow point, but the shipping lane is even smaller. It's only 2 miles wide. So any vessels that are traveling in this area, they are well aware of each other as they pass one another and work their way either up into the Persian Gulf or out to the Gulf of Oman. Hugh Hewitt's with me now, Fox News contributor. Hewitt, here's what this is a sense I gather here. The Iranians wanted to move the talks. The U.S. said, okay, we'll do that. The president talks every day about, he's stopped 8 wars. I don't get the sense that he wants to start a new one. And I think the Iranians know that. Where does that leave the situation as of now, do you think?
Good morning, Bill. I think President Trump is acting very calmly, very rationally, but I believe the opposite is true of Iran. Desperate nations, like desperate people, do irrational things. It is irrational to attack the Lincoln. It is irrational to attack a U.S. flagged tanker when the United States Navy's got presence everywhere. And then yesterday and today, the news agency associated with the regime in Iran began publishing pictures of American bases in the area. It's another threat. This regime has been near crumbling since Midnight Hammer, and when the protests began in December, it got desperate. It murdered 30,000 or more of its own people. Videos came out this morning about the brutality of those attacks. So I think Special Envoy Witkoff is going to offer the Iranians the Assad option. You can leave, we'll let you leave, but you've got to leave, because this regime is so evil, so fanatical. President Trump knows exactly what he's doing. I can't count the number of times he said the JCPOA was the worst deal ever done. Been saying that for 10 years. I can't imagine he's going to enter into JCPOA 2.0. And so I think it's really a showdown in Oman, where the president is going to communicate through Mr. Witkoff and Jared Kushner. You have one option, which is to leave and then let us destroy your missiles, because it's a dangerous, wounded beast, and they are acting completely crazy, not like someone that wants to negotiate.
That's a suggestion about regime change. Wall Street Journal editorial board puts it this way, just today in the paper. The price of oil is lower today than it was at the start of the 12-day war in June, and the U.S.'s options to mitigate disruptions. Iran's regime and its proxies are at their weakest, and its people are waiting. Mr. Trump has forged his opportunity, and this is his moment to seize it. So we wonder and wait whether or not this happens, right? Whether or not, if you're right, the regime capitulates. Hugh, as long as I've been alive, I have never been convinced that the leaders in Iran would agree to a deal like that.
You're right about that, but this is different in that Donald Trump has already shown them the willingness that has not existed in the United States since 1979 to smash them in ways that they never imagined being hit. So when President Trump acts very nicely yesterday in the Oval, what they have to realize is he can hit everything with the B-2s. They've got all of our assets there, the Lincoln there. So I believe that the ayatollah khamenei is not particularly rational, and we're hoping for regime decapitation from within the regime, because there are a lot of people who don't want to be dead inside the IRGC, and the ayatollah is walking them down a corner to being dead.
So here's the president of Iran, kind of new to the job, frankly. He said, I've instructed my Minister of Foreign Affairs, provided that a suitable environment exists, one free from threats and unreasonable expectations, to pursue fair and equitable negotiations guided by the principles of dignity, prudence, and expediency. He doesn't have the final word. The supreme leader does.
No,
in his
he's got as much authority as you and I do. He's just sending out, he's tweeting to the world that he's got power and authority. He's got nothing. The ayatollah is the supreme leader. Only he and Khamenei, the first supreme leader, run anything unless and until someone arrests or puts a bullet into the ayatollah in order to save the crumbling regime. They have been blacked out now for almost 2 weeks. They're losing millions of dollars a day. Their banks are collapsing. It's time for them to quit.
We shall see. Hugh, thanks for coming on. The instant analysis as the events unfold today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Dana.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.